Hi, everyone. I'm Kathryn. I'm part of the Nuevo Foundation. We're based out of Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. And this talk will be my virtual session in which I'll just talk about my journey in tech and through college and where I am now. So once again, I'm Kathryn. I work at Microsoft. I am a software engineer by profession. I grew up in a smallish town between Houston, Texas, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I also played in the band when I was in high school, but no longer play. I have no sense of rhythm, but it was very fun. So to start off with, what is a software engineer? Simply put, a software engineer is someone who designs and builds programs, which are a set of instructions that tell a computer what to do using code. And how did I get into programming or coding? Well, my first experience was when I was in middle school, so probably somewhere between 11 and 12. I had a Tumblr blog back when Tumblr was very popular. And I realized that you could edit your theme using a programming language called HTML, which looks something like this. And a quick note, if this looks scary to you at all, don't be nervous. As you learn a programming language, you really learn to end up reading it kind of like you would a book. Anyways, this is the programming language that I started off with, and I would edit my Tumblr theme to change the colors, change the fonts, change the spacing, just kind of overall customize my blog a little bit more than what the themes at the time were capable of doing. So fast forward to 5 years later, when I was a junior in high school, I had the opportunity to attend a workshop on Now robots, which are these robots. That's spelled N-A-O. And these robots are very famous for being self-balancing. So this robot can balance on one leg. It can also pick itself back up if it's been pushed over or if it falls or what have you. And so at this workshop, I had the opportunity to just learn a little bit more about these robots and about what the company was doing with them. And we also got the opportunity to program them. So we programmed them with something called block programming, which is basically what you see here, which is just a block that has a basic functionality like stand up, wave, say text. And you use that to kind of tell the computer what you want the robot to do. So like I said, the robot, when this program is played, will stand up, wave, and say some sort of text, probably something like, hello, world. And so I remember leaving that workshop and being like, this is it. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to go to college for. Robotics are super cool, and I want to learn more about them. And so that's when I decided to go to the University of Texas at Austin as a computer science major. And basically, computer science is a major that allows you to kind of study software engineering concepts, theories, techniques, and a variety of programming languages, and just computer programming as a theory in general. And the first thing that I did when I got there was join a robotics research lab. And so this is what the robots looked like at the time. I know they look very clunky here, but we have actually redesigned them a few times over to make them look a bit sleeker, a bit nicer, and more user-friendly. And in the future, if you attend a university that has a program like this that allows freshmen to get into research, I highly recommend it. It's a great opportunity to kind of get a good working relationship with professors and other people who know a lot about a given field, such as robotics. And you get the opportunity to learn from them, be very close to their work, and just in general, be part of a community. So here's more pictures of the robots that we got to work with. So the one in the middle is a very special robot that attends a yearly competition known as RoboCup at Home. And this competition surrounds service robots and different things that a service robot might do. So this would be a robot that maybe works in a hospital or works in an elderly person's home and does tasks that that person may not be able to do, like loading a dishwasher or opening a fridge. And so the competition surrounds these various tasks, and the robot has to perform them and compete on which robots at different research labs do the best. And it's a very fun opportunity to be involved in. And the other two pictures are another robot that I spent a lot of time with, which was the robot that had the arm on it. And yes, this robot is mobile. It does move around throughout the lab and just kind of like roam around, and it can pick up objects such as this pool noodle or maybe a cup or what have you. And it was really fun, and it was a great opportunity to learn, and we ended up writing a few papers. I helped co-author them. And basically what I learned in working in this lab is what research is and how to conduct it. So basically research is taking a question and an idea and then applying science to it and running experiments and trying to get closer to the truth. So for example, we ran an experiment where the question was, can humans interact with robots the same way that they would with another human when they're walking down a hallway? So whenever you are walking down a hallway, walking towards another person, generally you use some sort of facial movement or eye movement or body movement that indicates that you're going to maybe walk on the right side of the hallway or the left side of the hallway. And so the question was really like, can humans receive that same information from a robot as they could from another human, and therefore walk down a hallway more easily together, and just how they interact? And so we conducted a series of experiments to see what makes a robot more understandable, and basically if a human could understand what the robot was trying to indicate in general. And I had a lot of fun, and it was very interesting. But then I found something that I was a little bit more interested in. And so I kind of found these passions through a couple of courses that were part of our curriculum at the University of Texas. And this new field that I was interested in was known as architecture and operating systems. And these are kind of two separate things, but they are grouped together a lot of times. So say you have a computer. Within your computer, you have something called the motherboard, as you can see on the picture on the right. And that motherboard has a variety of different little devices on it that allow your computer to run. So those devices could be like a video card, which allows you to run your video games, or the CPU, which is the thing that processes all of the instructions that maybe your program tells the computer to do. Or maybe there's a CD burner or a CD player connected, or a hard drive, which just has a bunch of memory space for you to use. And all of these things have to be able to, quote unquote, talk to the computer and be usable to the user, right? And so architecture and operating systems is kind of like how those individual devices function, how they read the instructions that maybe you write, and how that's then displayed to the user on the end. So through Windows or through Mac OS would be a good example of how the user experience would end up. And this field is known as a little bit more lower level, so it's a little bit closer to like the underlying devices, and it's a little bit more specific on how it reads instructions. And so it is considered very challenging, but I thought the challenge was super interesting and super cool, and has a lot of room to grow, and you have the opportunity to learn a lot. And so I said, this is what I actually like. This is what I want to be a professional in. And so after I graduated college, I got a job at Microsoft as a software engineer. And basically what I do in a day is code. So I use a programming language called Go. And in the bottom right, the picture there is is that programming language, an example of that programming language, and the mascot for the programming language known as a gopher. And this language is developed by Google, and it's very fun to write in. I highly recommend. And I also get to work very closely with other coworkers and other people who work on similar programs that I work on to kind of help design how different programs talk to each other, how they talk to the computer, how they show up to the user, and design the features that maybe my program and my product have for others to use. And lastly, I generally like attend meetings to talk about the goals of all of that and how to prioritize what work and what we think the future is for our product. And lastly, I water my plants. I do have an office plant, which I haven't gotten to see in a while since we've been in quarantine. One of my coworkers has it though, so no worries there. It's being taken care of. And you can even see what I do online. So there's a website known as GitHub, and GitHub basically just allows you to have your programs online in a central place known as a repository. So just like a storage area for maybe multiple programs or a single program or what else that you want to put there. And when code is available through something like GitHub or a similar product like GitLab, it's known as open source because anybody can look at it. This is free on the web for anyone to see. And so what I work on is open source. So if you ever wanted to see something that a software engineer at Microsoft is programming, you can you can go to my GitHub link and you can just kind of see some of the things that I'm working on. And so my advice to you, if going into tech is something that you want to do, if you want to be a computer scientist, is the first thing is to be curious. So approach problems like they're experiments. Being in a research lab as a student in college was very valuable for how to approach problems. Approaching something with a hypothesis and trying to iterate and eventually get to the final result is a very useful way of solving problems in the tech world. And with that, it's you need to be okay with being wrong and failing. So maybe a design that you have or an idea that you have doesn't go as planned, or maybe it just doesn't work at all. And that's okay, because as you're doing that, you are gaining experience and you are learning different things about that program or other programs and how they all work together. So just don't give up, just keep going. The next thing is to be a good team player. Being in tech, there's a big stigma that tech people are very, shy and don't talk to other people and program by themselves in their basements or wearing hoodies. And that's just not the reality of it. Most of what you do as a team with your team or maybe even many other teams. And so you will be collaborating on projects and on programs and on the code that you write. And so being a good team player means that you need to be respectful and you need to be kind to other people and learn how to work with them, because the success of your product or your team or your feature that you're designing really depends on if you can communicate with these people and if you can end up with what you intended with that. And the last thing is to strive to always be learning. So there's always going to be new things to learn, maybe different programming languages, like I said, HTML or Golang. You don't need to worry about learning everything or learning the right thing. It's more about learning concepts and gaining experience, and those things are more important. So it's okay that you're going to be learning new things. If you know those concepts, you'll be able to pick things up very quickly. And so if you have these things, I personally think that you can learn any programming language or technology, which is basically just tools, or anything else that you need to succeed in tech. And so that's the conclusion of my virtual session. Here's some ways to stay in touch with the Nuevo Foundation. We have a variety of different workshops on our website that you can use and go through if you're feeling bored, or if you just have time during this quarantine, or just in the future if you're interested. So thank you guys for listening. And yeah, see you later.